Hello? Hi, Bernie.
Good luck.
Good luck, Harold.
Oops. There we go. Okay.
Hello, Harold. You can hear me?
Oh, yeah, I hear you. Yes. Why does it keep going?
Oh, okay. All right.
I have to restart my computer. Something is wrong here. Okay.
What?
I have to.
Oh, Walter. Hi, Walter.
Shavua Tov.
You got my message, Walter.
Yeah, it's a very good message. I get more miles per gallon. Don't worry.
How many miles do you get?
I get many more. I drink more. Okay.
It's cute. It's very cute.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for sending.
Oh.
Good luck.
Hello.
Hi, Ernie.
Ah,
Yes, I have it.
you're
Boker Tov Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh.
Oh, wow.
what's doing? Nothing?
Good.
What's going on?
Baruch
No
Hashem.
news
Still
yet?
doing.
Still doing.
Okay.
Okay.
B'shat tova, whenever it is, it is.
Someone's expecting?
Hmm?
Someone's expecting?
Yes.
B'sha'ah tova.
Wow. What part of Israel are you at?
We're in Shari Chesed.
Ah, fantastic.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
Very warm.
How's the weather?
Feels maybe there was a chamsin here, and it
Oh,
feels like it's breaking, like it's cooler this
We're in the
morning.
middle of our own Chamsin. It's gonna
right.
be.
It's brutal here.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it was 100 today, and there was
Oh
no,
my gosh.
and we had no electricity last night.
Yeah, did you
Oh.
have, when did your, it went on about 1 o'clock in the morning? 2 o'clock?
3 o'clock, like.
3
What
o'clock?
time
Ours
did
was
it
2.
go off?
What?
What time did it go off? The
2
electricity
o'clock
go
in
off?
the
2 o'clock in
afternoon.
the afternoon.
Noon.
Is that because people are using electricity like brownouts and things like because of air conditioning?
Yeah,
Wait,
because
what time? What time was
grid
the
is
electricity
off.
off? Because I already made food for Rosh Hashanah because I'm away for a while. So, what?
Oh my
But
God.
McCadden didn't go off.
Uh-oh.
That's June. Just
June and Las Palmas.
June Las Palmas,
Okay,
Hudson.
From 2 p.m.
crazy.
during the day?
Yeah.
Yes.
But it did not go off in McCadden. McCadden got good electricity. There, people pay the bills.
Do you have a generator?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not the air conditioning.
We have a generator.
But no air conditioning on it.
It's okay. We were fine.
We survived with fans.
You finish your cooking early?
Yeah.
Just a little because I'm going to be away till right before. So, yeah.
Okay, we're Perek Yud Dalet.
Perek Yud Dalet. Where's the?
Perek Yud Dalet.
Oh, you're pretty ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perek Yud Dalet. Last week,
First,
the last pasuk. Last week we learned the sugya of the rape of Tamar by Amnon, and then eventually Absalom, his brother, kills him.
And I just wanted to comment that it seems like the brothers always defend the sisters, like in and not the fathers. Yaakov, his sons.
Shimon and Levi with Dinah.
Yeah, and here with David, for whatever reason, he was enamored by his son, and he didn't defend his daughter really. The son, Absalom defended her, whatever his character was, but
Maybe David didn't defend her because he felt that he was instrumental in creating the situation,
He-
and also because of his incidents with Bathsheba. So he felt uncomfortable, perhaps.
Yeah, I agree, but he
reprimanding.
sort of was responsible a little bit. But anyway, by him not defending her or dealing with Amnon, whatever, however you want to say it, has led to this whole thing with Absalom, even though he didn't have a good character.
right?
There's also the consideration that she was not Jewish, depending
That's
on,
not a reason not
he
to.
was conceived before her mother became a Gioris.
I don't.
This is, there's always a lot of stuff like that, and we're not sure exactly. So
Anyway, it's just the thought.
it's just that.
I think he reprimanded Amnon. I think that would have pacified Avshalom. The fact that he
Yeah.
didn't do anything, kind of it festered for the next 2 years.
Led
You
to
know.
this whole, whatever, this whole insurrection.
The whole
As
episode,
an insurrection.
yeah,
Yeah,
all of these points are correct.
yeah.
And the story is going to get more complicated in this week's Pyrrhic. Vayeda Yoav ben Sruya. This is remember Yoav is the general of David HaMelech. He's also a nephew of David HaMelech. Sruya is one of the brothers of David. And Yoav, we've already encountered Yoav. Yoav was the general that was leading the armies when they pacified Ammon. So, Vayeda Yoav ben Sruya ki leva melech alav shalom. The last pasuk of last parak suggested that there was a debate. What does it mean, leva melech alav shalom? One approach was that he wanted to take revenge. He did. We learned last week that he went out and looked for him for 2-3 years. Avshalom escaped to Geshur, which was the country he had married the daughter of Geshur, Melech, of David had married the daughter of Melech Geshur, Macha. She was the Yifas Toa that he eventually had taken as a wife. So he went back home. And one approach was that the Leva Melech with Avshalom means he had regret. He wanted Avshalom to come back. He was ready to forgive him. Some of the reasons we said last week was he didn't want him to be in a place of goyim. He knew that he would deteriorate there, as well as he's his father, as well as his fatherly love. Now Avshalom now is second in lineage after Amnon. Amnon was the Bechor. Avshalom is second. There could be another reason that he's the natural heir of David. So Vayeda ben Sruya ki leva melech alav shalom. One approach is nicham al Amnon kimeid, that David is now comforted of all of this. Says the Malbim, a little bit the Abarbanel the same way. Shevin Yoav, what is Yoav getting involved here? Shevin Yoav Shadain Rotze David Linkom B'Avshalom. On one hand, Yoav, on the possibility that David still wants to take revenge against Avshalom, Av Sheyifsik Miller Dofach Rav, he's not chasing after him anymore. But Hikir Yoav ben Ammon Am Shehem Meshabchim et Maseh Avshalom. A little bit what Barbara was saying. Yoav recognized that the Hamon Am, the regular people, were happy with what Avshalom did by killing Amnon. He actually did something to defend the Tamar who got raped. How could Amnon do such a terrible thing, get away with nothing? Like Esti said. The Imken Yeral David Yaket Avshalom. It wouldn't be good politically. Yoav is now a political animal. he recognizes that if David continues to pursue Avshalom and kills him, it wouldn't be good because the public is behind Avshalom. Yoav is now going to take a plan that doesn't involve him directly. Number one, ki hamelech lo yishmalo. So hutzrach utachpula imaishat koid. He's now going to ask a woman from Tekoa to do a whole discussion before David HaMelech, which is going to perhaps lead the reconciliation between Avshalom and David. Yesh Omrim, the Mitzudas David says, Shehikir Yoav Shalev HaMelech Tov al Avshalom, v'ratzah lachziro. So we take both approaches. Either Yoav was afraid that he was going to take revenge against Avshalom, or Yoav started to see that David was softening, and David is now thinking about bringing him back. Aval hayar yarei lasot kein, shelo yamru ha'olam sheben hamelech yachol lasot ma sherotzeh b'li onesh. That again, the people are going to see that what's wrong. The prince is being brought back without any punishment. The Avshalom harag Amnon v'chziru hamelech. And the third approach, like we said last week, Sheratzah David lachzir et Avshalom ki haya yarei mila'azvo ben hagoyim. Kidei shelo yilka hagoyim. Pasuk Beis. Vayishlach Yoav Tekoa. Yoav sends to a city of Tekoa. It's in the hills. Vayikach misham isha chachama. He is looking for a smart woman. So what does living in the hills have to do with being smart? Barbanel says, since it was in the mountains, I'll read the Barbanel. Anashim ha'arim hem biteva giborim v'chachamim v'amitzei lev. People who live in the hills, they're by nature are giborim. They have good spirit. They have courage. They're smart. They're amitzei lev. They are good of heart because they live in a difficult environment. Or Yeshoimim al pi Chazal in Menachos Pehei mitnei sheshamin zayid gadal sham. It was a place of olive trees. Achachma mitzuya sham. The Gemara says that people who drink a lot of olive oil become smart. ודאי היו נשים חכמות במקומות אחרים, אך שמן זית מועלת לזיכרון. Olive oil is good for the memory. So it was עניין זה היה מוכרח לבחור אישה זיכרונית, שלא תשכח מה שיסדר בפיה. Yoav is going to ask this woman from Tekoa to sort of recite a whole story. And Yoav wanted her to get it right. Now, from a biology point of view, the nervous system, neurons, our bodies are built up of different building blocks. We have proteins, amino acids, which are made up of amino acids. We have sugars, carbohydrates, glucose, other sugars. We have lipids. Lipids are fat. Like when you go to the doctor's office, they check your triglycerides and cholesterol. Those are lipids. And neurons, which are the cells in the nervous system, are very important sphingolipids. The cell membrane, the way neurons work is there's an electric signal, like Bernie, who's an ophthalmologist. When our rods and cones in the back of our eye are stimulated by light, so the optic nerve then sends a message by electricity. It's a depolarization, which very quickly goes down. There are some neurons that are, the sciatic nerve is 3 feet long. And in a second, like the speed of light, almost, the action potential goes down the cell, and it's through the use of lipids that process happens. Now we understand when Chazal say olive oil is very fatty, why it's good for your brain. So let's go back to the pasuk. Vayomer Leha. So what does Yoav say to this woman? Hitablina, act like you're an avel. V'liv shina bigdei avel. Dress in clothing that of avelim dress. V'al tasuchi shemen. Don't anoint yourself with oil. V'hayit ki isha ze yamim rabim mitabelet al meit. Make yourself out as if you have been an avel a long time over a certain mate. Chazal learn in Moed Cotton Tezvav, Ovel Osr B'tichboset. An Ovel can't launder their clothing for 7 days. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Yoredeya, Shin Peites, Ovel Osr L'chabes Ksuso Kol Shiva Sayomim. Can't wash. Aval B'mayim Levad, except with water. Ula'achar Shiva Mutter. Chashem She'osr L'chabes. The same prohibition, just like there's a prohibition to launder clothing. You can't even wear clothing that have been freshly laundered after 7 shari. The minig is even for the whole 30 days it's also to wear freshly laundered clothing. And certainly you cannot wear new clothing. You can't launder your linen that are on the beds. By the way, it's machloikes, Ramban and Rashi. The Ramban in the Torah Sa'odam says that just like it's prohibited to launder for 7 days, it's also to wear previously laundered clothing, even if they were laundered before. But Rashi brought in Toisvis, Moed Kodin Chavdalid, that an Ovel Toch Shiva Mutter Lil Bosh Begodim Amchubasim Kodolchem, that you can wear clothing that have been laundered before. So it's Machlekes Rishonim and the Shulchan Aruch Paskin that Elu Dvarim Shavel Osr Be'em Malacha Rechitza Sicha Niasasan Tash Meshamita and Osr Lirchotz Kol Gufo Be'em Bechami Be'em Mitzoyin. You can't wash your whole body, whether hot water, cold water. Valponov Yadav Raglav, your face, hands, and feet, you can wash with chamin. You can wash with cold, but not chamin. But to use any emollients, oils, things like that, it's osir. Unless you have like a lot of sweat, then it might be permitted, according to some.
Ernie, I'm wondering why you're going into that length, because the pasuk goes on to say Yamim Rabim. It's obviously lasted beyond the Shivas Yimei Avelos.
So we said that there's a machlokas. The Riva says that it goes the whole 30 days. Yoav tells the woman, I need you to act like you've been in Ovel for a period of time. In Avelos. Not the whole 12 months, but maybe the 30 days or something. That's why only the washing issue is only the 7 days. Wearing laundered clothing, we see I read Shulchan Aruch holds that the minig was for the shloshim as well. Okay, Gimel. Hang on, just wait a minute. Yeah, we went through all of that. Okay. Base. That's later. Okay. Pasuk Gimel. Uvatal Melech, and he instructed the woman to go to David HaMelech, v'dibarte lav kadavar zeh, and say these words. Vayasem Yoav et advarim b'fiyah, and Yoav placed the following story in the woman's mouth. Dalet. Vatomer Aishat koit el HaMelech. Fast forward, the woman now is in front of David. and is going to tell David what Yoav told her to say. Vatipol ala peh, she falls on her face, vaytishtachu, gives kavod to the melech, vatomer, Hoshia melech. Like you're saying, Yechia melech, right? This greeting, hail to the king. Radak says that the sort of the double language Vatomer is first, she went through a whole introduction with the people who are at the gate, the palace gate. Ela melech ani rotze likones. They told there's too many people, and then eventually she got in, and then she said the second Oshia melech kederech hatzoakim. Hey, Oyomer la melech malach. David Melech asks, what can I do for you? Vatomer avalishal manani vayamet ishi. She introduces herself as an almana, that my husband had died. And why did she have to say that? Because ein derech noshim lavo lamishpat, says the Malbim. David Melech, in many times in Tanakh, we see he was involved in mishpat. He was like part of the Sanhedrin. And part of the question of Vayomer la melech malach, what are you doing here as a female? Usually the Baal would come, or baneha, or kroiveha. It was the minig then.
Didn't she have to be presentable to go before the king? Wouldn't it be considered inappropriate for her to not be dressed properly to go to the king?
In fact, part of what she says when she says almanani, she's explaining I wouldn't be dressed like this, and she's explaining why she's in the state of Avelis. I guess halachically, it was understood that you don't have to dress in the normal manner because of the halachic status that she's in.
Prostrate yourself in front of the Jewish people.
What was that?
Why is it important to know that she was an Isha Chachama?
No, but, so we went through that Yoav, you notice she's going to recite now a story. So she had to have a very good memory. That Yoav was concerned that it would be an Isha Chachama who would be able to say over the story exactly as Yoav told her to say.
But someone else, she's going to have to improvise as well. If questions come up, etc., she'll have to improvise also.
Yes.
Question: you prostrate? What do you call it? Prostrate yourself before a Jewish king? It seems so odd. If you bow before, I don't know.
I mean, like curtsying in front of the Queen Elizabeth?
Yeah, it's making it sound like she went on the floor and she already bowed down to him. I don't know. Seems weird.
I don't see that the Meforshim were bothered by the Yishtachava. It must be that was the nimus, the etiquette when you came in front of the king.
Okay.
Or this woman is coming with a request, and that's a way, to request from somebody to lower yourself, that kind of thing, to be mishtachava, because she knows she's coming for a personal request. What is her request? Vav. Ulashiv chascha shnei vonim. I, as your maidservant, have two children, two sons. And vayinatzu shneim basadeh. They had a fight in a field. Since they were in a field, we'll see why was that important for them to say that. At least nobody could come to save one of them if they had heard screaming. Ein matzil b'neihem. Vayaku echad et echad vayamet oto. one of the brothers killed the other brother. We see what's going on here. She's gonna say some story, which is the mashal, and the nimshal. Every parable has the story and what the story is supposed to convey. Obviously, she's going to be hinting at the fact that Avshalom killed his brother Amnon. That's where she's going. Malbim is pointing out that this pasuk is clearly stating by the mother that the son who killed his brother is not chayv misa, min nadin. Number one, shenotzu basodeh, and therefore lo haya sham edim vasra. For Bezdin to adjudicate capital punishment, a rotseach normally, if there were two edim, who warned right before the murder, it's got to be toch kedei dibur. Asra has to be within seconds of when they commit the act of whatever they're going to be accused of. The edim and the hasra and the warning. What is hasra? They have to say, you know, that ritzicha is asr min Torah, and that the punishment for ritzicha is death. And the person has to say, afal pichein, even though I know that, I'm going to carry it out. That's the process of asra. Obviously, very rare. That's why Chazal tell us, a Sanhedrin that carried out a execution once in 70 years was considered a Bezdin Katlonis, was considered a hanging court, a court that was, busy giving out capital punishment once in 70 years. It was considered too much because we see all of the various dinim, as we talked about, arayas, the prohibited sexual relations, has to be with bia, with some either neshasish or family. Well, you need two edim and hasra, toch kedei dibur, means within seconds of the act being carried out. You could think about it that right before he has, I understand it's punishment, it's usher, and I'm going to do it anyways. So we understand now that practically this didn't occur. It's a din. We have the procedure, civil procedure of how these dinim were carried out, but in fact, it was extremely rare. You have to be a lahachisnik. Right before you're about to carry out an aveira, someone is telling you, this is the aveira, it's also not Torah, not midrabanan, and the punishment is death. And the person's going to go, I'm going to do it anyways. Then by being, the Malbim says, Haya korav l'shogig b'reticha sa'afa chema be'ein mefsha b'ribam. We know that if someone kills b'shogig, you're in a forest and you're chopping wood with an axe, and on the way down, it flies off. You don't go into shogeg because that's considered korav l'mezid. Shogeg means it's an avera of killing, but not so severe as premeditated murder. So you're allowed to run to an ir miklat and you save yourself there. But it's not when the axe is going down. When the axe is going down, you have to be very careful. And if it flew off and killed somebody, you're korav l'mezid. So we're talking about when you lift the axe up and it fell off. That's a true shogeg. So the Malbim seems to say that by being out in the field, that there's nobody to save them. It's more korav l'shogeg, because they're angry. It's like killing in a moment of passion, where nobody's there to separate the two through explanation, and that l'chora the Malbim seems to suggest is like an act of passion, which is korav l'shogeg. Says something else, says the Malbim, that shezehi kalazeh v'zehi kalazeh, that it started being a fight. One person hit the other hit back. והאחד העמיס באופן שחברו היה כרודף, כי יקר גם כן. If you're in a fight, you hit me, I hit you back, I hit you, you hit me back. If the other guy kills the other guy, it's like he's a rodef. In a sense, if you kill somebody in self-defense, you're killing somebody who's chasing after you. You're allowed to kill them. Well, you're not considered a murderer. And says the Malbim, Gimel Dvar Melu Gam Benimshal, Shavshalom Aragl Amnon below Eidim Basra. Avshalom killed Amnon without Eidim, without Asra. There was Shaloya Matzil Benim, there was nobody in between to save them. And Shim Haya David Osa Mishpat LaAmnon Al She'ina Sachoso, Laya Bali Dekach. That's what Barbara said. That if David had done something in retribution, a mishpat, to Amnon, that he raped his Tamar, it never would have come to this. And Amnon hikauto b'mashiina uvayesh esachoso. The carvers, he first Avshalom struck Amnon, and then Amnon struck him back, and this is that he falls under the din rodef, who are fighting, and the Malbim brings the, we have a famous din of Haba b'Machteres, a ganef who comes to your front door and steals. Okay, he's a ganef. But if you're a ganef who's tunneling under the ground to come into your house, you're allowed to kill him. Because Haba b'Machteres, it's thought psychologically that if he's coming by tunneling, he'll be prepared to kill you if you try to stop him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be tunneling to try to come in by Machteres. However, there you're not allowed to kill him. He's not considered a rodef. Says the Malbim, Echot shekam al chaver lahargo, v'chaveru hikash shuvoto v'chozer chalila. And now there's a fight back and forth. In shum echad mehem chayv misa. Kivu de kol echad rodef al chavero, v'ahoreg es harodef potter. V'lo ichpes lan mi yischil v'hi katchila. And halachically, it doesn't make a difference who started the fight. V'zeh chidush gadol. That from there is where you learn the Iker Din Roidev. Maybe he should be potter. So you see, it's not the same din. It's a chidush. But the Malbim is giving the Machteres case is a chidush. The Malbim is telling us that kol echad oimed al nafsho, self-defense, is kohoriges haroidev. If someone comes mitchila laharoges chaveru like a Machteres, then you're allowed to kill him. You see a lot of dinim that are learned agav tangentially from a few psukim in Nach.
Ernie, can I add something interesting? The Me'am Loez has an interesting twist. He says, look at the Lashon Vayaku ha'echad es ha'echad. He said that both Amnon and Avshalom were the only sons of their mothers. So they were precious to each one, and therefore it's echad es echad. So each one, the mother, you can imagine the mother's reaction.
Each one is a meyuchad. Each one is unique. Each one was a singular son. Excellent.
And I also say there's a midrash here that this story evokes the story of Cain and Hevel, who quarreled in the field, and then ultimately Hevel was killed. But Cain asked Hashem that he protect him from anyone who would avenge the killing. So she's drawing a parallel to say, well, if Hashem is protecting Cain, how could you not pardon, Avshalom? I mean, you should, follow, in terms of protecting him.
Wonderful. Two very nice pshatim in the same pasuk. Very good. Zion. And now the woman is relating that the family of the killed brother, the other family members, are descending upon me. Unmiseu, the nefesh achiva shehara. We want to act like a goel hadam, right? The whole parsha there, shogeg, when someone kills somebody, so the family is allowed to run after them and kill him, unless he makes it to the Ir Miklat first, and then they can't. So the woman is telling David that the family now is requesting the right to kill the murdering brother. The Nashmida Gamasayoresh. Well, he's the only one left that's going to destroy my family. The Kibbutz Kachalti is going to extinguish the coals. Asher Nishad, he's my only son that's left. Livilti Simli Ishi, Shemu Sheres Adama. He's the last remnant of my husband. He carries the name. Now, he, underneath the surface, is telling that this really isn't as a din of a goel adam. They didn't have the right. Lo yachiyuv misas bezdin ala ben shargas achiv. Like we said, shlo yasham edim vasra. So the bnei mishpacha tanu shem goel adam. We don't need bezdin. We fall under the category where if you're a goel adam, which means you're related, we'll see it also means you have to be able to, you have to be one of the heirs, and a goel adam is permitted, even though it's not at the same. Normally, you would think that you're allowed to save from a din rodef in the act. You see somebody trying to kill somebody, oh, you can kill him then, but this is not going to be days later. So, but a goel adam, as long as he hasn't made it to the ira miklat yet, the family, the goel adam, has a right not b'shas ma'aser. However, the mother Tainus, Haim, this is like the Malbim again gives us detail. The woman is saying, Haim enam goale adam, ki ein levavam chamal zeh. They have to be like in a state of passion. Kavanatam la'rog et hayorish k'dei she'em yirshus nichsei bala ameis. They have to be in position to inherit, but they were not. The remaining son, for example, let's say they were brothers of the father, and this son was killed, and now they are the Yorshim. So then they would qualify as Goel Adam, says the woman. But I have a son remaining. So you're not in the category of Yoresh Goel Adam because you're not the direct Yoresh. Chol Goel Adam shlocham libo linkom dam anishbach. Leslie reshus laharogas arotzeya. So it's a halachic thing she's saying. And even im yesh lehem din Goel Adam, the Malbim says if a Goel Adam comes, let's say the son is hiding in her house, she's not chayiv to give over the son to the Goel Adam. The Ralbag says something even more striking. Even if they were Goel Adam, einam rishayim larogas harotzeach ad amdo lifnei beis din. It's a process. It's not a case that the guy who's chopping wood kills somebody and they can go after him and kill him right then in the forest. He has to be brought to Bezdin. Bezdin has to adjudicate, and they have to say, this is a case of shogeg. Like I explained, if the axe fell off going downward, it's not a case of shogeg that he's allowed to go to miklat. It's korov, he gets off. Bezdin doesn't kill him, and the Goel Adams don't have a right to kill him. If it's killed with the axe going up, then they say, oh, this is a shogeg king halachically. You have a right to go to Ira Miklat. Then the Goel Adam at that moment have a right, after there's been psak and bezdin, have a right to kill him. So it says the Ralbag, that didn't happen here. So they would have that's the Isha coming. So Barbara asked, or somebody asked, why did she have to be a smart woman? Obviously, we can see what's going on here. She's a Tamidah Chachama. She knows all these dinim and are coming up. Maybe Yoav told her this, maybe Yoav didn't tell her this. Or sometimes, if you want someone to remember, it's got to be somebody who knows what they're talking about. She knows the sugya. So it's not just memorizing what he told her, but she knows all these things. It's on the tip of her fingers because she's steeped in halacha. Ches. And by the way, anyone who has anything else to comment, please jump in. If you see if you've seen other comments and other midrashim, whatever, please jump in on the spot today. We don't have to wait.
Why didn't she have gone straight to base, and why is she going to the Melech?
Remember, this is a story. This is a story she's telling. David and David is usually part of Sanhedrin. He's sitting in Mishpat here. So in essence, maybe that's what she's doing. And again, this event didn't happen. She's making
I know,
as if
but in order for it to seem realistic, she had to present situations where it would be appropriate for David to be responding.
okay. So David, like I said before, is involved in Sanhedrin on a regular basis. He sits with them, and he paskins with them. Many Chazalim tell us that David HaMelech was very involved in Mishpat, like Shlomo HaMelech, right? Shlomo HaMelech, same thing. Remember the women, Mir Hashem, we're going to learn this together. The women who came, the two mothers come with the child. So he's sitting in judgment as well all the time. The Jewish kings are different than regular kings. Ches. So the story is over. Okay, I will command the family, says the Malbim, they shouldn't touch a hair on your son. They don't have a din of Goel Adam. He agrees they're not doing it, maschimu malev, so they won't be able to kill your son.
Ernie, I have a question I would like to put. We know that David HaMelech considered himself almost on the level of the Avos. And he had that conversation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised him that even though the Beit HaMikdash wouldn't be built in his time, at least he'd be zocheh to sit on the Har HaBayit. So, and he's one of the Yeshbizim, just like the Avos and Moshe and Aaron. I don't understand. This is already the second example in Tanakh of an allegory being told. The first one was Nasan Hanavi and Bathsheba, and he didn't get it until basically Nasan hit him over the head and explained to him that the allegory about the rich man and the poor man was the story about him and Bathsheba's husband. So here the same thing. The woman is going, the entire story, the parable is being told. And he's not responding, don't worry, all he says is, don't worry, I'll take care of it for you. He doesn't get that it's a personal story that relates to him until later on in the parak. Obviously, we see that. So I just don't understand why David, who is a great king and must have had a lot of insight, why he wouldn't, in either case, be able to figure out what the story was about.
So fantastic point. Fantastic point. So as we've said a few times already in our learning, David is the paradigm of a Baal Tshuva. Like we said, that even though most of the Meforshim, when we went through the story of Bathsheba, held that he didn't live with an Eish Ish. Remember, the Abarbanel says she was an Eish Ish. And even such a Naveira, David HaMelech was able to overcome through tremendous Tshuva. So maybe David's role is different than Avram, Yitzchak, and each one has a different role. And David HaMelech's role is to show this. I mean, that's got to be part of the answer to, because your question begs the question. Your questions are very good. So we have to say that this David HaMelech for the various royim, the 7 shepherds that are memorialized in the Ushpizin, each one brings down a different midah. Avram Chesed, Yitzchak Gvura, David Yaakov Tiferes, Moshe Netzach, Hana Vehena, and David is Malchus. But maybe, like we said before, part of Malchus is having skeletons in your closet. You're not a perfect human being, but you have to know how to do tshuva and rise above it, and that makes you great as well. Yes.
Wouldn't Yehuda really be the template for
Yes, so David HaMelech is
For
in
being Moda, for being a Baal Shem.
place of Yehuda. It took 7 generations after Yehuda to create David HaMelech. So even though, yes, Yehuda, part of David comes from Yehuda, that he was Modeh, right? That he, yes, it's not Tamar. She shouldn't be burned. I'm the father. So that's where David HaMelech learned it. But I guess David HaMelech represents many other things. Yehuda's not, it's not the time for Melech Yisrael yet by the time of Yehuda. So you need to be Melech in order to be part of that Ushpiz and part of that Royim. Yehuda was just too early. And he was masking that they were not Goel Adam. That's again what the Malbim says. Now, there is a kasha. The Rambam in the Rambam says in Hilchos of Rotzeach, shekol elu ratzchonim sheina mechuyavim misas bezdin. We described the scenarios where somebody's brought to Bezdin and they say you're not chayv misas bezdin, technically, because of some loophole. Imrotz melech Yisrael lahargam b'din hamalchus v'takonas ha'olam harishus biyado. So that's why he said to her, you don't have to worry. I'm not going to paskin that he's deserving of on my king prerogative, because it was a din that a melech could kill. The Ralbag says, Kiva dein reshut biad goel adam laroget harotzech b'li psak bezdin. Remember we explained that the goel adam have no right. Bezdin hasn't sat and heard it yet. Hu yitzavet Sanhedrin levarer v'lifsok. He will command the Sanhedrin. That's why he sent her home. I will get Sanhedrin to look into it. Ibn chayv miso golus. Ubein kach ein l'shum adam reshusin gobo. While that process is proceeding, nobody can touch him. Because remember we said it does until Sanhedrin paskins, it doesn't go forward. So these are different pshatim in why he didn't give her an answer right then. And then Vatomer Aishat Koit El Hamelech Alai Adoni Hamelech Avon V'Beit Avi V'Hamelech V'Kison Naki. It says this has nothing to do with you, king. This is all, say the Meforshim, Rashi and the Radak, B'Loshan Sagi Nor. It means sometimes we refer to a blind person. We don't use the word blind. We use a nicer word. So the Meforshim say this is what's going on here. She wants to protect the covenant of Melech. Really, the sin would be on you. If they would not be saved from the Bnei Mishpacha. And when he said V'Melech v'Kison Naki, she's really referring to the opposite. Hayisha chashda shelo yaseh Melech davar v'rak dachsa mishum shelo yamin l'tanasa. She's concerned that maybe she's being put off because David is not accepting her tainus, the halachic tainus, and she'll end up killing. Others learn that this is the Metzudas. David says no, this is not in hidden language. It's lashon ragil. And this has nothing to do with you, king. And I want you to believe that this whole story is from me. And okay, 2 pshatim. Yud. Vayomer HaMelech. Hamidaber elach vevesi elach v'lo yosif od lagaspach. He repeats what he said, that nobody's going to be able to force for you to give over the son to the Goel Adam.
Well, where does she fit into this? I mean, she's coming to this king with a story that's not true. It's just supposed to be a parable. Shouldn't the king be annoyed with her?
He doesn't know that yet.
I know, but does she have any, will she be faulted for bringing him this story?
I don't see so. I don't see
She's
him.
discouraging him from investigating.
That's right. She doesn't want him to see that there's no family with us.
Correct.
Yeah, but like Bernie asked before, I mean, he's smart. Didn't he realize that this is connected to him? How could he not see that? Like out of the blue, she's coming with a story similar to what happened with him and his two sons, and he
Right.
doesn't realize that it's some kind of a parable, that he's got to learn something from this.
Obviously not.
Remember, the Avshalom had run away 2 years before. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
David
Mhm.
is also having a change of heart. So he's not, he has cases coming before him every day. So maybe in the initial blick, he doesn't see it yet. Yudalip, Atomer Yizkor No Amelech, as Hashem Elokecha, Meharbas Goel Adam L'Shaches, V'Le'ashmidu Es B'ni, V'Yom Echai Hashem Im Yipol Mishras B'nei Chartza. Again, she wants David to remember that, to protect the son from the Goel Adam, and he again takes a shvu, Chai Hashem, if a hair on his head is injured. The woman wanted him to take a shvuah in the name of Hashem. She asked for another word with the king. She wants to start something new. She wants to give her more hints. Says the Radak. Now she wants to reveal that she came as a parable related to Avshalom. So since this is now a new topic, she needs reshus. First, he says, how could you believe the story that I told you that the Bnei Mishpacha want to kill my remaining son? They're Am Hashem. And we know that there were no Eidim Basra. They would go ahead and kill anyways. And this now triggered the thought that Avshalom also didn't have Asra, and that really Avshalom didn't deserve the death penalty. That there are murdering kind of people in Klai Yisrael. He should have thought about killing the Bnei Mishpacha. So you see that the lack of Eidim was a main trigger that reminded him of Shalom. And that the Goel Adam have to be, like we said, Yorshim. Otherwise, and therefore there was really no Goel Adam there, B'Shas Ritzicha, by Avshalom. Yudal Kimot Namut, V'chamayim Anigari Martza, Shelo Yasefu.
Is there any specific din relating to a Jewish melech as far as going after his family members?
No, there's no, family doesn't protect you from din, even if you're a prince. More kindness that she's bringing to the benefit of Shalom. She says everybody dies. Somebody who dies before their time, it's not so terrible because everybody dies. That was one kindness she said. Well, based on that, maybe why do we kill any murderer?
Isn't it also supposed to be a, what's the right word? Like you're letting other people know that it's inappropriate. You can't just go by. I mean, why did they bother going after 90-year-old prison guards in Auschwitz? If you want to make sure that everybody knows that what somebody did was wrong.
Right, but you can't kill them.
And
But you
also
can't
want
kill them
revenge.
can't
They
kill
want-
them without law.
I want justice.
Then by saying levilti yidach v'menu nidach, she wants to say, says the Kliyokar, behashgacha haisamisa sanon lechaper avon asher chata, that maybe the death of Amnon is part of the kapara because of the sin he did with his sister Tamar. V'haya mechuyev misa b'dei shamayim. V'Avshalom haya shaliach hashgacha ve'ein la'ashimo kol kach. And maybe Avshalom is in a sense a messenger from heaven, because maybe Amnon was judged misa b'dei shamayim, and therefore you shouldn't judge Avshalom so harshly. Especially because he didn't have Asra. And therefore, Avshalom's punishment should also be only be bidei shamayim, and not by you or the Bezdin. Then the Kliyokar says further, Im chas v'shalom, if you don't forgive Avshalom, Im shoch piru b'Yisrael, ki atu achre Avshalom chalila, v'yimshechu milchamos beino v'incha v'yimshoch b'zeh, which we know happened. Meaning, if you kill Avshalom, we know Yoav already had a Havamina that many of the people were with Avshalom. We're going to see Avshalom is a very popular figure. He's very handsome. He's good looking. He's popular. And a lot of the Am were with him. And that if you kill Avshalom, it's going to lead to civil war. The Rabbeinu Bechai goes on to a mystical, different Kabbalah that I'm not going to go into regarding this. Says Pasuk Tezvav. Ve'atasher bati l'naber l'melech adoni et avar zeh ki aruni ha'am v'ator meshivchascha dabran al ha'melech l'yaseh melech et var mator. She says that the whole mashal is to do good for Avshalom. We're trying to sow the schus. So she's being sent in order to show that the people want good done to Avshalom. And maybe the Melech will think about Kishma Pasuk Tezayim. Kishma Melech Latzilat Amatomi Kafaish. Just like you're going to save me, and you're not going to allow the son to be killed. Lashmid oti ve'bni yacha minachlat elukim. You'll do the same for Avshalom. Batomer Pasuk Yud Zayin. This will be the last pasuk that we learn tonight. Batomer Shivchascha Yen Advar Adoni HaMelech Lemenucha Kamalach Elohim. Kain Adoni HaMelech Lishmoa Tov Harav Hashem Lokecha Yimach. Just like says the Kliyokar, Kamoshi Yitzil is bni lefi machshavta. You wanted to save my son based on your shikol adas. Kol kach yanuach livno al ki ayosah b'dam alav. You should do the same for your son, who is similar. Achar shechlatet mishpat zeh b'dover she'ein ata nogea bo. You were not personally connected to my story. I brought you a story that you have nothing to do with, and this is the decision you made. Lo yachmir bedino shel Avshalom yoser masher bedin ish acher machmas sinas v'kasolav. Even though you might be angry with Avshalom, and that part has not gone away, since you were not nogeya in my story, and this is how you paskin, you should do the same for your son. We'll get to David HaMelech's answer next week. Any final words, comments? Aros.
What he realized was
Yeah, another comment that the Me'am always makes is that he uses ki malach Elokim kain. Just as an angel of the Lord does not change, so the king ought not to change from his ruling to do for Absalom that which the king said to me. Basically, you already told me, she's telling David HaMelech, you already told me I'll do justice. Stick to your words. Don't change, just like Malach never changes.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent shot.
Where does it say that?
No, he
I'm a-
brings, because the puzzle